So, Humanoids from the Deep is basically a film from 1980, which is my perfect B movie. It's what I want from a B film. It's it delivers in everything that I'm looking for in a B film, and it delivers it well. It's made in the 80s, but it feels like the 50s, and I'll get into how many things that kind of inspire it and inspire it really well, and how many homages it pays to films before it, and I wouldn't really say films after it because you can't really pay homage to the future, but films before it for sure. Like if it feels like a 1950s film, but a slasher kind of thing. So it's in that way it's perfect because it feels like Creature from the Black Lagoon, which came out in the 40s. It feels like a monster movie which were popular in the 50s, and it feels like an 80s slasher in one movie. So I really love that aspect about it. But basically, the plot itself, uh, it, and again, it really takes homages to so many films that came before it, like Jaws. The whole opening feels like Jaws. I felt like I was watching a Jaws film. Basically, your generic plot is a company called Kanko who wants to throw a chemical in the water that's going to make salmon grow at a much faster speed. So you would get much more salmon. It's a really small Massachusetts town called. There is a name for the town. Noyo, Massachusetts. I don't know if that's an actual town or not, but the plot revolves around this small town in Massachusetts, and this company that wants to increase the salmon population and the salmon increase, like the salmon distribution, kind of say. And obviously, shit goes wrong because if you're mutating salmon, uh, you know, some things can go wrong, and they do. And they, what happens is basically the chemical uh, breeds with salmon and then breeds with this other name of fish, which I also have a name for here. Yes, it's colan this breed of fish that has been extinct for a very long time. It happens to mutate that fish as well, which ends up breeding with the salmon, which ends up breeding with uh, some other kind of species, which basically creates humanoids, which is half fish, half human, which that's where it pays tribute to Creature from the Black Lagoon, where you get this fish-like man creature coming onto the shore and starting to invade, the population and create havoc. And it really, I love the reason why I love this film the most is because of how much homage it pays to to every decade. It really pays homage to the 40s and the 50s and the 70s and the 80s because this film is filled with slasher elements. It's fantastic. It's like Creature from the Black Lagoon mixed with Friday the 13th. It really it's that good. It pays respect to both styles, and I really love it for that. But yeah, it's entertaining. It's entertaining from beginning to end. It's got a lot of racial elements to it, like because it deals with Native Americans and how the mayor doesn't take Native Americans seriously, even though the Native American is right the whole time, and the whole Canco company putting chemicals in the water and making things worse. The whole third act, which takes place in a carnival and has a bunch of sea monsters, attacking everybody. It's so good. It's so good. It's so entertaining, and it's so much fun. And the the practical effects, and that's the other thing that I have to give credit to this film, is the practical effects beat CGI. And you actually have people in costumes walking around like, oh, like it feels more real than when you digitally affect everything, you know. And I know computer technology is gonna, take over, but when you have the old school feel of it, it makes the film so much better, in my opinion. And when you got sexy girls with sexy legs, like you're seeing right here, see, like, just, it really feels like that type of film that you want to see. Like when I go look for a horror film, I want a film to feel like Humanoids from the Deep. I was expecting it to be more 50s. I was surprised with the 80s like slasher vibe to it. I was expecting more like monster movie, which it definitely delivered, but I was expecting, or sorry, I wasn't expecting as much 80s vibe to it, which it did deliver also a lot, and I really, really liked the combination. So, anything I can add to the review? There's, especially in the first act, there's a lot of animal deaths. So, if, just a fair warning, if you don't like animal deaths, especially dog deaths, there's like a dog death over and over in the first act. It, it's like, okay, there's a dog death, and there's another dog death, and then there's another dog death, and then a guy brings over a dead dog, and it's like, okay, a fourth dog death. It's just gonna keep on going and going. So if you're squeamish, which I am too, a little bit, with animals dying over and over, probably not gonna be the film for you. But like I said, the thing that I like best about this film is mixing elements from other horror films, because you get your monster movie vibes, you get your slasher vibes, and you get the best third act you can ever have. So I fully recommend Humanoids from the Deep, and and I'm not gonna go too much into spoiler territory, because part of the plot is what the humanoids' intentions are, and I won't discuss it too much, but it involves breeding breeding genes to further along evolution, basically. So you know, it involves humanoids, mating with humans. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so it's a fun film. It's a fun film. It's not serious. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's it's a lot of it's extremely enjoyable, and that's what I love. I love horror films that don't take themselves seriously. Some, like most of them, that's what makes them fun. Is horror films that don't really take themselves seriously, and that's the ones that I can enjoy the most. So, Humanoids from the Deep is one of those films. So I absolutely recommend Humanoids from the Deep, especially with this cover. Like, there you go. The third act takes place in a carnival, and you got these badass monsters coming after you, and it's a perfect horror film. It's a perfect horror film, and that's how I'm gonna leave my review. I recommend Humanoids from the Deep, and it's a perfect horror film. So please check it out if you want to, if you like horror films, and if you can take it. All right, cheers.